Welcome friends. We are discussing network theory, module 6, two-port network. Previously, we have started our discussion on two-port network with the different network parameters and their definition. Primarily, we have discussed mainly four types of parameters: impedance parameter, admittance parameter, transmission parameter, and hybrid parameter. And we have seen their definition, and we have also solved one problem, how to calculate impedance parameter and admittance parameter. Now, in continuation with the previous part, we shall continue this discussion to the further topics. Now we start our discussion with, once we have defined all the parameters, now it is possible to represent each parameter with respect to another parameter. For an example, Z parameter can be represented as a function of hybrid parameter, or maybe transmission parameter can be represented as a function of Y parameter. So they are called interrelationship between parameters. Okay. So we shall shortly see how different parameters are interrelated with each other. So let us first represent Z parameters in terms of parameters. So we first write the fundamental equation of Z parameter, which is V1 is equal to Z11 I1 plus Z12 I2, and then we have another equation, V2 is equal to Z21 I1 plus Z22 I2. So now we have our first parameter, which is equal to Y parameter. So what is Y parameters? I1, it should be is equal to Y11 V1 plus Y12 V2, and therefore thereon second equation, I2 is equal to Y21 V1 plus Y22 V2. So in short, in matrix form, I can be written as Y matrix into V. So if you write the above equation in this fashion, then it should be Y matrix inverse into I. Now this Y matrix inverse is nothing but Z matrix. So what is Y matrix inverse? Y matrix inverse, which is equal to, now what is Y matrix? Y11, Y12, Y21, Y22. So its matrix will be, or inverse of this matrix will be delta Y, 1 by delta Y, and it should be Y22 minus Y12 minus Y12 Y with minus Y21 and then Y11. So what is delta Y? So delta y is nothing but y11 y22 minus y12 into y21. So therefore from this, if we compare, so z11 is nothing but y22 divided by delta y. z12 is nothing but minus y12 by delta y. z21 is nothing but minus y21 by delta y. And finally we have z22, that will be equal to y11 by delta y. So this is the interrelationship between z parameter and y parameter. This is the interrelationship between z parameter and y parameter. So moving on, our next parameter, which is ABCD parameter. Okay, so the governing equation is equal to AV2 plus BI2 and I1 is equal to CV2 plus DI2. So let us name or mark them equation 1, equation 2. So if you arrange equation 2 in a different way, we can write from equation 2, we can write V2 is equal to 1 by C I1 minus D by C I2. We get this from equation 2, just rearranging. Again, if you substitute V2 in this equation, okay, in this equation, if you substitute V2, so we have V1 is equal to Z11 wait a minute, it's not V2, actually we should have, yeah, from equation 1, sorry, yes, from equation 1 now, from equation 1, if you substitute V1 is equal to A V2, now you, in place of this V2, you must substitute this V2, okay. So that is A into 1 by Ci1 minus D by Ci2, that is A into V2, right, from this equation, plus Bi2, So if you simplify, then if you take I1 common, then it will be A by C I1. Then if you take I2 common, then it will be AD minus BC by C into I2. So we have one equation is this, V1 is equal to this, and we have another equation is this, V2 is equal to something into I1 into something into I2. So if you compare these two equations with the parent equations, if you compare these two equations with the parent equation, you will get a relation. So if you compare, so this must be Z11. Okay, so this must be Z11. So Z11 is equal to A by C. This must be with a negative sign. This must be Z12. So Z12 is equal to minus AD minus BC divided by C. Next, if you compare this, then this must be 1 by C, it must be Z21. Z21 is equal to 1 by C, and finally we have Z22, which is equal to, this must be D by C must be Z22 with a negative sign, of course. So these are the relationship between Z parameter in terms of ABCD parameter. So this must be the relationship between Z parameter and ABCD parameter. So we represent Z parameter as a function of ABCD parameter or T parameter. So next we have another parameter, which is hybrid parameter. So fundamental equation of hybrid parameter, V1 is equal to H11 I1 plus H12 V2. And second equation is I2 is equal to H21 I1 plus H22 V2. So you mark these two equations as 3 and 4. So again from equation 4, we get V2 is equal to 1 by H22 I2 minus H21 by H22 into I1. So this we get as a first equation. Now if you substitute from equation 3, if you substitute V1 is equal to H11 I1 plus H12. Now V2 you need to substitute this value. So 1 by H22 I2 minus H21 by H22 I2. So if you simplify, then if you take I1 common, then it will be H11 H22 minus H12 H21 divided by H22 into I1, right? And we have H12 by H22 into I2. So this is, we have another equation. So if you compare with your previous equation or fundamental mother equation, which that represents Z parameter, therefore this must be Z11. So V1 is equal to Z11 I1. So Z11 is actually delta H divided by H22, which where delta H is this H11 H22 minus H12 H21. Z12 is H12 divided by H22. So this represents actually Z12. And from this equation we have Z21 is equal to minus H21 by H22, and finally we have Z22 is equal to 1 by H22. So this is the Z parameter, representation of Z parameter in terms of hybrid parameter. Okay. So in this way we can represent one parameter, one particular parameter with respect to other parameters. So now let us moving on to for the next one. Let us moving on for the next one. Let us represent Y parameters in terms of other parameters. Y parameters in terms of other parameters. So our fundamental equation is I1 is equal to Y11 V1 plus Y12 V2, and thereby another equation I2 is equal to Y21 V1 plus Y22 V2. So therefore we can write I is equal to Y matrix into V, right? So therefore V is equal to, V is equal to Z into I, So basically Z is equal to, or Y is equal to Y matrix is equal to Z matrix inverse. So what is Z matrix? Z11, Z12, Z21, Z22. Its inverse. So its inverse is equal to 1 by delta Z into Z22. Second element will be minus Z12, third element will be minus Z21, and fourth element will be Z11. What is delta Z? Delta Z is equal to Z11 into Z22 minus Z12 into Z21. So therefore, if we can compare, Y11 is nothing but Z22 by delta Z. Y12, what is that? Y12 is nothing but minus Z12 divided by delta Z. Y21 is nothing but minus Z21 by delta Z, and finally we have Y22 that will be equal to Z11 by delta Z. So this is how Y parameters are represented in terms of Z parameters. It's just the inverse of this matrix, right? Next, moving on, let us say we have ABCD parameter. So V1, fundamental equation for ABCD parameter is equal to V1 is equal to AV2 plus BI2, and I1 is equal to CV2 plus DI2. So let them mark by 5, equation number 5 and equation number 6. So from equation 5, From equation 5 we can write I2 is equal to 1 by B into V1 minus A by B into V2. So that is one equation for you. If you substitute this value of I2 in equation 6, so from equation 6 we get I1 is equal to CV2 plus D into I2. So I2 is this 1 by B into V1 minus A by B into V2. So simplifying, it would get first term, it is D by B into V1. Then we have plus BC minus AD by B into V2, right? So this is another. So this is another equation for you. So now if you compare this Y11 must be D by B, Y12 must be minus AD minus BC by B, Y21 it should be 1 by B, Y22 it must be minus A by B. So this is the representation of Y parameter in terms of transmission parameter. So moving on, to our next parameter, that is Y parameter in terms of hybrid parameter. So we have hybrid parameter written as V1 is equal to H11 I1 plus H12 V2 and I2 is equal to H21 I1 plus H22 V2. So let them mark by equation 7 and equation 8. So from equation 7 we get I1. If we arrange equation 7 in this way, I1 should be 1 by H11 into V1 minus H12 by H11 into V2. So this is equation 1, first equation for you to understand the relationship between Y parameter to hybrid parameter. And now from equation 8, if you substitute I2 equal to H21 into this I1, you substitute 1 by H11 V1 minus H12 by H11 V2 minus it should be plus H22 V2. So if you simplifying this, I2 should be is equal to H21 by H11 V1, that is first equation, Then the second equation will be H11 H22 minus H12 H21 divided by H11 into V2. So this is another important equation for us to understand the relationship between admittance parameter to hybrid parameter. So if you compare, so your Y11 must be 1 by H11, Y12 must be minus H12 by H11, Y21 should be H21 by H11, this one H21 by H11, and finally Y22 should be delta H by H11, where delta H is this one, H11 H22 minus H12 H21. This is actually delta H. So by this representation we can understand the relationship between Y parameters in terms of hybrid parameters. So in this part we are ending here. From the next session we shall discuss the interrelationship of another two variables or another two parameters, which is ABCD parameter and hybrid parameter. Thank you.